memoir out, Take You Wherever You Go, by Grand Central Publishing. I'm just going to stick that in the title and in the chat. I'm sorry. And it says the title derives advice he received from his grandmother. And I sure would like to hear more about that, Mr. Leon. So without further ado, let's ask Kenny Leon to join the screen and be recognized as National Theater Conference's Person of the Year. Thank you so much for joining us. Take your jack off, stay a while.
Taking my Clark Atlanta University Historical Black College jacket off.
Yes, sir.
But thank you so much. I almost don't know where to begin when someone says Person of the Year. It's like my friend August Wilson would say, when I told him one time that he was my hero, he says, that's a heavy burden. That's to be Kenny Leon's hero. I got to earn that. And so to be your Person of the Year, I have to earn that. And I do know that I stand on the shoulders of a lot of folks. Every 2 or 3 months, I sit in with Harry Belafonte, who I think Harry is 94, but interested in just having his stories on stage. So I'm spending time with him. Or when I remember talking with Ruby Dee and Asa Davis, when I did the first production of A Raisin in the Sun, and Ruby and Asa I told them to come by and give me notes during the preview period. And of course, Ruby did. And when I think about Lord Richards and think about my hero, Woodie King, it's like, when you do plays by Charles Fuller, and I'm working on a new Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death for Broadway, Melvin Van Peebles. And I never forget that we're all connected. I stand on all those shoulders, and all I can say to you is that I will use this award or this acknowledgement, I will use it as fuel to continue to tell all stories and to continue to do the work that many of us have been doing all our lives. So it's just great to be with your group. It's good to see people like David Felshew and a lot of folks in the chat. But we're in a strange place right now in our country, I think, and I like to be optimistic. And sometimes we think the answers have to come in from the political arena, and maybe not. Sometimes we think it may have to come from the church, maybe not. Maybe it has to come from us artists. I think we have to hunker down. We have to tell everyone's story, tell better stories, understand that there are no better stories than others. There are good stories in the academic arena. There's good stories in the community theater. There's good stories in regional theater. There's good stories in commercial theater. There's good stories in television and film. And I know because I've sort of told stories in all those places, and all of them are the same. It's just a different audience. So as your fellow warrior, I accept this award. I say thank you. I will try to live up to the honor of all those great storytellers that have gone on before me. Thank you so much.
Well, Mr. Leon, thanks to you for being with us. Oh, that's my dog joining the conversation. But you're going to appreciate that Woodie King, we're going to play his clip now from when he received his Lifetime Tony Award this season. And, Woodie is also a member of NTC. And he did a lot of the same thing that you did, but rather than me talking about it, I'm going to ask Cesar if you can just play the clip. Just a reminder that Cesar Reyes and Paula Marshall are our heroes in the Zoom world, running things for us and making us look somewhat decent. Woodie King's right here. Hi, Woodie. Good to see you so much. Thank you, sir. So, Cesar, whenever you get us checking, go ahead and play that clip.
In 1964, when I arrived in New York, searching for a place for me in the American theater to create, to share, the Tony Honors was a distant dream. Both the Tony Awards and the theater meant much, much more to me than a place where great artists, really American artists, writers, wrote for the theater. I wanted to integrate African Americans and women into the American theater. I met and actually talked to people like Paul Robeson, Fred O'Neill, Robert Penn Warren, Robert Lowell, Ralph Ellison, Langston Hughes, Tennessee Williams. I worked with Roscoe Lee Brown, Lloyd Richards, Robert Earl Jones, Willa Kim, Kurt Landell, the great Frank Langella, watched the beginning of careers, Faye Dunaway, Dustin Hoffman, Glenn Turman, Chadwick Boseman, Amiri Baraka. I was shaped as a producer by my relationship with American Black playwrights, Ed Bullins, Ron Milner, Charles Fuller, Elaine Jackson, Lawrence Holder, Lonnie Elder III, Jim DeJong, Ntozake Shange. For me, it was an oasis, a light. You know, when darkness began to settle in around you, a friend can be detected by the light that he carries. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I salute you. In recognition of a groundbreaking theater that has been training artists and producing plays by people of color and women, as well as developing multicultural audiences for more than 50 years. Wow.
That's great. Thank you, Woody. What's that feel like, Woody, seeing that with Kenny sitting here with us? What's that like?
Well, it's great because Kenny and Heather Hitchens called me up to tell me, Woody, we want to talk to you. And naturally, I was doing something else. But when it said Kenny, I said, oh, let me get back to them. Because I hadn't heard from Heather in so long, you know, since she's with Niska. And I called back and they told me, you're going to get, Kenny told me I was going to get the Tony Award. That was where I first heard it. So I think I've said it once. I sent him an email thanking him, you know. But he gets a lot of thanks.
And Kenny, you're here with you know, an elder statesman of the field, and you know, you both were mentored by and must have looked up to, and then to have the reciprocity of turning that around. What's that like?
Well, you know, I think Woody is ageless, so I don't really put an age on thing. I just put in terms of his contribution. Since I've met him from day one, he's always been a giver, and I just love, you know, like August said, there are givers and takers, you know, and the world is full of givers and takers. And from day one, I've always known that Woody was a giver, and you know, having worked on the Tony Administration Committee, and you know, just a couple of Black folks on that committee, and I just thought it was important to bring up to the committee, you know, to remind everybody all of the wonderful work that Woody has done. And sometimes, you know, sometimes if people are not in our immediate circle, we don't take notice of them. That don't mean that that they aren't giving greatly to the country. So many times it's no one's fault. I just try to do my part to remind people like, hey, but before Netflix and before the studios, before, you know, Woody was doing stuff. He was putting writers out there. He was putting future producers out there. He was working with actors in a strong way. And we just have to remind ourselves of that. And, you know, I look at you and I think about the contributions of Native Americans. And it's like, just because the the broader community doesn't acknowledge that, doesn't mean that there haven't been great contributions and sacrifices. And I think there's power in acknowledging the sacrifices of all those whose shoulders we stand on. So, you know, one of the most beautiful moments for me last year, when before the pandemic, and I did Charles Fuller's A Soldier's Play for Broadway, and all I could think about was Douglas Turner Ward and Woodie King and Charles Fuller, and you know, how dare I accept a Tony Award without acknowledging those who have, you know, paved the way when no one would even see all the wonderful, crazy, beautiful work they're doing. So I live like that, and I'm gonna say to Woodie, you know, I've said it many times, but every time I get a chance to see him, I have to tell him how much I love him, how much I thank him for what he's done for the country. And I say to you, Randy, I just met you, but I want to thank you, thank your people for what you have done. I want to acknowledge the horrific things that were done, but I want to use it as fuel to create a more beautiful country. And so your people have made it more beautiful. Woodie's people have made it more beautiful. And all of us on this Zoom, we all still have more work to do. And we can't sit down and drown ourselves in the sadness of it. We can only build on making things great and more beautiful. So yeah, Woodie King, you deserve that Tony recognition. Nobody gave you that. You deserved it for the work you have put in, and the miles you have walked, the stories you have told, the lives you have changed. And that's what great storytelling does. It changes lives. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, one of my great experiences with two artists, Felix Cochran and you, Kenny, when you left the Alliance and started True Colors, you had asked me to come in and direct you in A Raisin in the Sun. And I told Felix at that time, I said, Felix, this guy has done so much for Atlanta, and he has run the Alliance. He said, I know. I said, so this set has to be so unique and different. And he created a set that I have longed for and searched for with other designers. I cannot find it. And that production of A Raisin in the Sun, where you did Walter Lee, you know, of course, Lorraine was my friend, and her sign in Sidney Brustein's window tried to make it, but A Raisin in the Sun and Lloyd Richards were first, and Sidney Poitier were there, and Ruby Dee was there, and that introduced so many of us. So we had a running start on things, and so many people did not have that running start, and that knowledge, those intimacies that are found in the small details of A Raisin in the Sun. And you were able to do that with the True Colors production of A Raisin in the Sun. And early on, you mentioned Charles Fuller, and 73 or 74, I did 5 one-act plays that was all connected by Charles Fuller, called In My Many Names and Days. It introduced a very young Lawrence Fishburne. I think he was 12 years old. And what I am so pleased about is that these people went on to integrate into the American theater. Women and people of color are now part of that mainstream, part of NTC, part of, because at that time, we didn't know what NTC meant. We didn't, it was just a name that we thought we would never become a part of. And now that we are a part of it, and I am so glad and so pleased to see that you, Kenny Leon, I know your calendar is full. I know that. I said, how in the hell does he do all this? Does he have 3 secretaries? Are they arguing all the time? Well, we want him to do this, we want him to do that. But yes, indeed, you are a part of the American theater, not the American Black theater, American theater. And where you are directing, redirecting the Wiz. We thought it was something back then. We saw Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death, but you're going to do it again with, and we saw Denzel and the Raisin. We saw the Broadway show. Everything you've done, I tried to get on the bus or train or wherever and go there, like we used to do for Lloyd Richards. And we saw the beginnings of August Wilson when he ran the little theater in Pittsburgh, drinking coffee out of a paper cup, building sets. We saw that. And so Lloyd Richards gravitated towards that. And that's what I see you doing. And thank you.
Oh, it's thank you, man. It's like sometimes, which is interesting, Zoom comes in handy because we can share stories that we have not shared. So the connected tissue from a lot of this is like Woodie King directed me as Walter Lee in A Raisin in the Sun at the Alliance Theater. And back in those days, everybody was trying to say, Kenny, you need to just act. You need to act. That's what you need to do. But once I directed, it was a beautiful play called The Wishing Place. I directed that little play and I felt something I had never felt before. And I said, wow, I can act, but God's plan is for me to direct. Mm-hmm. Man had plans, but God had bigger plans. And so now I act every 2 or 3 years just to make my directing fresher. So when I act, I can go and stand in front of Denzel Washington or Samuel L. Jackson or Audra McDonald, and I can tell them what they're going through because I know what the acting process is, but I know I'm on the planet to direct and other behind the scenes stories. So I acted in the play for Woodie, and then I did the first production of first revival of A Raisin in 2004. And the first person I went to was Lloyd Richards. He was in his apartment on 72nd or wherever it was. And I said, hey, Lloyd, man, you know how much I love you and how much I respect you and how much I've learned from you and how much you've mentored me. I said, I don't want to do anything with A Raisin in the Sun that takes away from what you guys did. But can we just break bread and tell stories about what makes the play hard, what makes the play work? He said, absolutely. So we met like weekly during the time that I was working on A Raisin because I said, I don't want to do what you guys did, but I want to be inspired by that. Long story short, I also then went to Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis and said, I just respected what you guys did. I don't want to color that. And I said, you can be as involved as you want. And Ruby says, what do you want us to do? I said, just come by during the end of rehearsals and come through all to the previews and just give me notes and let's, I would respect the notes, but you got to respect what I'm trying to do. Ruby and I said, yes, every preview for 3.5 weeks, Ruby and Ossie was at my rehearsals, giving me notes. Comes up to opening. Lloyd says, Kenny, I can't come to opening. You are the only person that will understand this. If I come, it would take away something that I got when we did the 1959 version. I am your biggest fan. I want this to be so successful, but if I come opening night, it's going to tarnish some part of the memory of all the work we had to do to get that play there. I hope you understand. Opening night, I get this big basket of flowers. It's from Lloyd saying he loves me. I hope you. And I was like, of course I understand as a director. And then as time went on, when I got the opportunity to take my production to ABC and to do it on television, when Lloyd didn't get that opportunity because of racism in the world. So he did all the work, but he didn't get the opportunity to direct his production on film, you know. I got a chance to tell that story. So every time that I'm accomplishing something in my life, I'm looking back and saying, I'm making up for shit that was overlooked in the past. You know, I'm standing in the spirit of all those. I'm standing in the spirit of all the slaves that were beaten and hung and abused. I stand in the spirit of my grandmother who didn't even get Social Security but worked for white families all her life. I stand in the spirit of all that because all this thing is connected. We're part of the evolution of man, the evolution of Americans. And so I keep hoping one day, as my grandmother, one day soon, we'll get to the beauty of us. But you know, it's a tough lesson as humans. We're not learning yet in terms of how to get to the best of us. But I still believe in that. And I don't know where I was going with that, but other than to say that it still comes down to the storytelling. It's all connected to all those who have who've come before.
You know, yeah. You out of Florida, right? Tallahassee?
Yeah, Tallahassee, Florida, out in the country. I'm a country boy from Tallahassee, Florida, which is why when he said I wrote that book, the title of the book with it is Take You Wherever You Go. And that was something my grandmother gave me. So don't try to be somebody else. Mm-hmm. Don't try to be a white man. Don't try to be a woman. Don't try to be a rich man. Take you wherever you go. And that's the gift that you, Kenny Leon, can give to the world. And if everybody brings themselves to it in truth, man, we will be so much beautiful in this country.
Okay, now, when you moved from Tallahassee to Atlanta,
yep.
And I don't know if you are a part of that generation where a father was missing, or and the mother sent you to church and places like that, and that's why you picked up little pieces, and those pieces gave you love and gave you what to watch out for, what to do, etc. My movement was from Mobile, Alabama, into Detroit, and ultimately into being put back because I came from such a bad school in Alabama. But there was someone who said, listen, kid, you can go to, and now you got something like summer school. Go to summer school. And I got in summer school, I said, wow, I love this. And Mr. Finger says, well, there's a library here. Go to the library. Look at these Rodins. Look at these Degas. Look at these things. And I went ahead and moved ahead of the system and went into one of the best high schools in Detroit. And ultimately graduated early. And my mother was a domestic. And so where I'm going with this is this missing link made us care about people, made us wonder, made us watch people and be able to know that if August Wilson said something this way in Fences, or Bill Harris said something this way in a piece of writing, or Ron Milner said something this way, it's a truth in that. It's a truth that permeates throughout their work. And therefore, I know what he's talking about. I know what he is talking about in an Elaine Jackson work. And that's why I think my plays, whether it's the Ed Bullins win the Drama Critics Circle Award, or J.E. Franklin won the Drama Desk Award, it's something in those plays, Marty Evans Charles, that you got in growing into and watching what happens in universities and high schools, et cetera. And that is what I want young people out there to know. You got to watch. You got to watch. If you go to a Kenny Leon Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death, if you go to Kenny Leon's The Wiz, or see A Raisin in the Sun, or see A Soldier's Play, you're going to see something that you can grab a hold to. And that's why I love your work. You can grab a hold to something that relates, and that relationship is permanent. It's indelibly marked in our history, in our memory, in our brain cells.
I love that. It's like, you know, I always try to take me wherever I go. Therefore, people can say, oh, I don't like him, but at least you're meeting the authentic Kenny Leon. And people don't know this, but my first Broadway show that I saw was in 1988, 89. I was a directing fellow for the National Endowment for the Arts. I took a group of people to hear this young writer wrote this play, Fences, on Broadway. Fences was my first Broadway play that I sat in the audience to watch it play. And I'm sitting there, Jane Drill Jones is this powerful voice. And Mary Alice, she has this tempo and this rhythm. And it was kind of odd at first. I was like, why is she talking like that? And then when she hit him in the chest because of his infidelity, the tears just ran out of me. I said, wow, she stuck with that rhythm. And then she got to the rhythm of hitting him on the chest. And then the tears came. And I said, oh, I see. Even though this play is in Pittsburgh, and I grew up in the country of Tallahassee, Florida, now it's more than a play. Now it's a part of my culture. August is tapped into the music of my people. So
yes,
it's
yes,
way
yes.
back deep. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, I know what it smells like when your mother straightens your sister's hair with a straightening comb and the steam come off her hair. And I know what that is. I know what it looks like when you hold a slice of watermelon at the screen door and you sit out looking down the road, waiting for the next car to come by. I know what it's like when your mother sits down and braids your sister's hair or braids your brother's hair. It's like, that's our gift to the rest of the world, because we can take us wherever we go on a raised stage in front of the entire community. And that's what's so wonderful about organizations like this, because it's like, it's not about creating, I don't think, like separate spaces. It's about creating safe spaces everywhere, all the time. It should be a safe space and in an integrated community. Why should we go back to segregation to be safe, to have a place that we think belongs? We should belong everywhere. It's our country. It's your people's land. It's your people's country. That's like the blood's been spilled. The blood's there. It's so much blood on America's hand, and we have to own that blood before we can get to where we're supposed to be. So I'm just gonna stop now. But anyway, it's like
No, you don't have to stop, man. You're on a roll.
I like, it's just like we had we had slavery, we had civil rights, and now we got the aftermath of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And my thing is like, okay, shit, what are we gonna do now? Are we gonna let this moment pass again? We cannot step back. And I love a lot of our young people, right? But it's like I say to my young people, you guys don't have all the answers. We need you too. We do need you. But it's like I tell my daughter, I got 40 years on you. You're smarter than I am, but I got wisdom. So you got to put that wisdom with this youthful energy and this youthful politics and this youthful courage. You got to put them all together and come to what is good and right. No one group has the answer. It takes all of us. And we got to do that. And we got to start respecting everybody's story. You know, we got to start putting Native American stories or our Native people's stories on our commercial stages and on our educational stages, not just to like, oh, it's an afterthought. We got to put real stories coming from Black people on our stages, not the Black stories that have been approved by parts of the white community. We got to put all that up, and we got to stop fighting between the commercial world and the regional world and the Black world and the TV. It's like we need all of that. We need to tell stories all over our country, and our country could be more beautiful than it is now. It's like we're stepping on, it's like wasted beauty. We always say, oh, we're the best country in the world. In my opinion, that's bullshit. We have a lot of things we could be. We have a lot of things we could be and that we should be, but we haven't stepped in to do and be the example, the shining example that we should be to the world. That is, it's untrue. It's untrue. And when you get to my place in life now, it's not, I tell folks, I was like, yeah, I did what I did the last episode of the Colin Kaepernick story on Netflix. Just finished that. I did the 4400. There's a new show out on CW. So I've done a lot of stuff, but where's my point? My oh shit, I forgot where I was going with that. But
when you get to your place in life,
we need to tell all these stories, and we need to keep figuring it out, and we need to, we're at a place that, thank you. We're at a place where it's not about the projects I do or the money I make on the project. If you want to look at the money part, it's like, okay, what did you do with the money after you got the money? You know, what did you do with the success after you got the success? What did you do which is, you know, on stage this past Tony season to receive that Tony Award for A Soldier's Play? That was probably more important to me than the moment when I won the directing job for Raisin in the Sun. Because the truth is, all these awards are subjective. So the truth is, the first Broadway show that I did of A Raisin in the Sun with P. Diddy, Audrey McDonald, Felicia Rashad, that was probably the most challenging job I had as a director. So if you want to say, wow, what was really tough? That was, you had an actor who hadn't ever acted before. You had a 4-time Tony Award winner. You had Felicia Rashad was coming off the Cosby Show. You had Bill Nunn, who was doing all the Spike Lee movies. And I got all of them on the same page and told this great story that Lorraine put pen to paper. You know, so I can't like, oh, that, no. You can't even, when you have Tony's, Emmys, it's like, yeah, you know, all you want to say is like, okay, does this person's body of work amount to a Tony Award? Not whether he had the best. So I always say, hey, Denzel Washington won an Oscar for Training Day. I don't think that was his best work. But I asked myself, is his body of work worthy of an Oscar? Yes. Give him that Oscar. You know what I mean? So we need those awards, and we need this award to use as fuel, to continue to have the opportunity to tell stories that impacts lives and uplifts people and uplifts our country. And for me, that's what it's all about. But I just want all of us to get over the silly stuff. You know what I mean? It's like we all hold on to like life, or we walk through life as if we're gonna live forever. We may live forever, but not on this plane. The only people that know that are the people that are across the plane. No one else knows.
Yeah. So
it's like, what are we gonna do now? How are we gonna serve people? And you could test it out. And I would admit that I'm a Christian by faith, or I try to be, but I'm not pushing Christianity. I'm just saying every time I've tried it out, like things like it's better to give than receive. That has been true. You don't look good in hate. That's true. If someone, you know, like when a kid taps on my shoulder and says, you know, I'm in this business because I saw your Raisin in the Sun in 1991 that Woodie King directed, and I am doing what I want to do in life because of that. That is worth more than if someone says, here's $1 million. You didn't earn it, but here's your $1 million. You know, I know we need money and I know it's a tool, but it is better when you do stuff for folks, when you serve folks, when you impact lives, when you make people feel better than they felt. You don't know. I had my best friend died last year, and I had another friend that committed suicide last year. And you never know what's going on with people. So the best thing that we can do for each other is be kind. Be kind. And when I see a politician that's not kind, it's like there is no space for a politician that's not kind.
Great, great. You know, early on, Kenny, in my life, I was an avid reader. And early on in my life, I met and worked with the great Langston Hughes. And he published some of my early work as a writer. But that's when I got into Tolstoy, Turgenev, and read Turgenev's First Love and Artaud, these great writers. And they were mostly, ironically, was Russian. Yeah, and I said, wow, they're telling these stories, and these stories are lasting. Now, what kind of stories can I tell that are lasting? Right. Like when Turgenev said in First Love, he came with indifference, and with indifference did I receive him. I said, wow, that's deep. That's very deep. He came with indifference, and with indifference did I receive him. I said, wow. And so that permeates within my life. Now, what I feel, and I feel this strongly, is that the relationship of this knowledge to the people I relate to, be white or black. I may be talking to someone white, like my first meeting with Tennessee Williams before he died. I did his play Suddenly last summer. And I had an Asian guy, a black woman playing Kathy. And he said, wow, man, that's deep. I never thought of it like that, but all that's true. All that could have been true. But, and they were all there waiting for him to say something. And he came not with indifference, but what he came with, and I did receive him. He came because Langston Hughes said, you got to see this work. You know, it's always about somebody else. It's like Kenny Leon saying, Woodie to this committee should get a Tony Award. Heather Hitchens said, Woodie, you should get a Tony Award. So it's not about you being out there walking this road alone. This road has many byways and pathways, and each one can get you to your destination. That's what I love about the American theater. And that's what I love about the National Theater Conference. They can say, okay, we are here to do this, but unless they do it, then I'll just end it there.
Guys, thank you so much. We have a little more time. And one question I had for you, Kenny, you were very generous with your time last year and came to see some of our students at San Diego State University, where I'm a professor, and you were a lecturer last year. And it meant a lot to a bunch of kids locked in Zoom to have someone that they admired so much. But you talked about your mission statement for your life. And that came up in class a few times after you were gone. You talked about principles that you live your life by. And I wondered, do you remember that? Yeah,
I mean, I always say, you know, I have my, I tell young people, and by the way, San Diego State University, I mean, the university saved me last year. So I was like, because we had talked about me going to the university for 4 master classes, you know, and I was going to figure out a way to get out there. And then the pandemic hit. And then it's like, oh my God, now we have to do it Zoom. So I ended up doing like 10 Zoom classes. And I look forward to them. And one time I took all of the students in one class to behind the scenes of me directing the Mahalia Jackson film. So it was so beautiful because I could introduce them to the camera operator who happens to be like 4 or 5 years older, and then the focus pull person who was like 2 years older. And so these people in these classes, they said, oh, life ain't that hard because they're just a little bit older than me and they're working professionally. So anyway, it helped me a lot. But I always tell young folks that figure out your core values, have a vision, you know, have a dream, you know, because, you know, if you don't put anything on dreams, they're just dreams. So my 4 pillars are boldness, laughter, respect, and abundance. Boldness. I want to do bold things. I want to be courageous. So I want to do bold things. So you do bold things. It's like, yeah, we can do the Wiz live and let's do it this way. I want to do Melvin Van Peebles Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. And I want to do it on the Broadway stage. And I don't want to run away from the truth of it. So boldness, laughter. I want to laugh at least twice a day. Some people don't laugh at all.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like if you ain't laughing through life, it's gonna be tough, you know. So
Yeah.
twice a day. I want to respect every gender and sexual difference and racial. I just want to respect other people. I want to respect the stuff that I don't know. I'm more interested in what I don't know than what I do know. And then lastly, I want to live in abundance. I don't want to live in a world of scarcity. There's enough money. There's enough food. There's enough love. There's enough water. There's enough all of that. You know, we just got to fix that, you know. So boldness, laughter, respect, and abundance. Every time I do a Broadway show, even before everybody starts saying, oh, we need to make sure we diversify. You know, some people are just checking boxes, in my opinion. But even before that, I always said, okay, does this align with my core values? And one of my main principles of life is diversity and inclusion. I remember when I ran the Alliance Theater, which was a big white institution before I got there. But once you start changing and diversifying the people, you know, you become better. It's like if I got Jewish people on my staff, then I don't have to worry about the first week in September, the second week in September, because they're going to remind me, you can't do anything on that day. That's Rosh Hashanah, that's Yom Kippur, whatever, you know, they're going to remind you of the Jewish holidays and we're not working that day. So if you got black people here, black people can remind you, you know, that's Juneteenth. You can't do that. Or this is what's important to the black community. Native Americans can remind you that's disrespectful to call us this, you know, whatever. So there's beauty in diversity. You know, there's beauty in it. And there's money in diversity. Look at the Netflix model, you know, and God goes out to the Godfather and his wife who was killed this past week. You know, it's like you know, Ted Sarandos, who's the CEO at Netflix. His wife's mother, you know, was killed in the shooting in LA. So when I think about that family, you know, it's just anyway. That threw me off. Think about that. We do have a lot of random, crazy, senseless death that happens in our country now. You know, death rate is up, you know, around the country. So just be kind to each other, y'all, you know, and get your vaccinations. All right. Throw that in there.
And remind your audience that Ed Bullins has passed.
Oh, wow.
Great American writer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fellas, at this time, we normally would throw it open for Q&A. We've got about 7 minutes before Kenny announces the Paul Green Award winner. Kenny, you can take a second and get a drink of water. And We just have a couple questions from the audience, if you have that. Thanks, Kenny. Take your time. And let's see. So if people want to raise their hand, we can have you pop on mic and ask a question. If you have a Q&A, if it feels like it's interrupting the flow and we want to keep hearing these men speak to us, in the chat, we've heard, we've read, "This is church, speak to us, speak." So it was just all through the chat that people were really enjoying the energy. And actually people are just saying, "Shut up, Randy, and keep talking." So perhaps Woody and Kenny, if you have anything you'd like to wrap up with before we get on to the Paul Green Award, let me know. And that might be a nice way to end out.
Yeah, I just, I think if I at the Tony Awards this year, when I said that no diss to Shakespeare and Ibsen and all those writers, but we got to make the table bigger. I think that's what I want to say to the field. We have to don't be afraid of making the table bigger. Don't be afraid of getting out of your neighborhood. Don't be afraid of, going uptown, going downtown, crosstown. There are a lot of good artists in this country all over in little pockets of Utah, of Oregon, all over. So I just think that there is room for all of us. And I just want to remind all of us, let's live in abundance. Let's live in abundance and let's live every day, one day at a time, because, death has no age. You can be 105, you can be 5. It doesn't, it's not that, but it is how we spend our lives, how we serve each other, how we share our stories, how we talk to each other. And I think it would be sad for us to return to the way we were before the pandemic. And I thought that in my family, I lost 2 uncles and an aunt to COVID. Not to mention all the Americans that we've lost to gun violence, police violence. We've lost a lot. So we got to reevaluate how worthy life is. I was rereading a great American play, Our Town, the other day, and it's sort of that line in Our Town that says, when the young lady is talking to her dead mother and who's looking down on earth, and she says, does anyone ever get it? Like the real beauty of life when they're actually living it. Do they really get it? And the answer is no, not really. Maybe a couple of artists or whatever. And I would just like us to grow that number so that there are more than a couple of artists. Maybe there's like 10 or 20 artists who understand the beauty of the shared moment, the beauty of the time that you have with your grandkids. I have a grandkid, a 5 and a 3-year-old now. And let me tell you, I tell my wife, I said, you know what? Let them be 3, because they're not going to be 3 again.
Yeah.
Let them be 5 when they're 5. Let them be let them be that. And when I was working on Hairspray Live, I had people in that cast who were 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. So I said, every age group, no matter your age, 80, 90, 100, every age group has a specific thing to offer the whole. A 10-year-old can offer the whole something that none of us have. A 20-year-old and their eagerness in the world, no one has that but a 20-year-old. A 31-year-old, a 30-year-old, they think they know everything. They have that. There's a beauty to that, and you're 60 and you have wisdom, you can offer that. It's a 70-year-old, you have a different look. And when I sit and talk to Harry Belafonte, or if I walk into Sidney Poitier's living room and Sidney speaks, we don't have that. That's the beauty. We have to learn to embrace all of us, not only age-wise, but racially, culturally, gender. We have to start accepting all of that. Don't be afraid of the difference. And let's let our stories reflect that.
Thank you. Anything else, Woody?
Oh, no, that great conclusion.
I like it. I like it. So it's time for the Paul Green Award. What I'd like to do is read something that takes about 4 or 5 minutes, and it describes what the Paul Green Award is intended to do and the foundation that makes it possible. So I'm going to be looking slightly off camera. I'll get it over here a little more. So the Paul Green Award recognizes and encourages excellence in new professional theater talent and is presented to young theater artists selected by National Theater Conference's Person of the Year, Mr. Leon. It's been given since 1988. The award is named for Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Paul Green, who served as the National Theater Conference's president in 1941 and 42, and served on the executive committee in 1944 and 45. Paul Green was on the drama faculty at the University of North Carolina, one of the 1925 original theater department's organizers for what has become the National Theater Conference as we approach our 100th anniversary. Paul Green was a remarkable person, dramatist laureate for North Carolina, a humanist, Hollywood screenwriter, essayist, professor of philosophy and drama at the University of North Carolina, novelist, poet, singer, writer of songs, human rights activist, and Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright for the Broadway production In Abraham's Bosom. Green's considered the father of the symphonic outdoor drama with his production in 1937, The Lost Colony. He went on to write 16 more outdoor dramas, and in 1963, he founded the Institute of Outdoor Drama to support historical dramas across the country. Now named the Institute of Outdoor Theater, it works with all types of outdoor theater in the United States and countries throughout the world. In 1981, Paul Green passed at the age of 87, leaving a legacy of literary works and good works that touched the lives of thousands of people. In 1982, the foundation was informed to carry on his work, and each year, trustees award a grant in the area of arts and human rights. So, Mr. Leon, if you would please let us know who you've chosen and why, we would love that.
Well, first I should say that I run into a lot of young people around the country, and I'm impressed, and I believe in this new generation of people and a new generation of artists. This person is a Princess Grace Award winning writer, director, curator from Boston, as a theater director. Miranda Heyman is her name, and she has developed and stage work at the Tank, NYTW, Roundabout, Ars Nova, Manhattan Theater Club, The Public, Bushwick Star, Signature Theater, and more. Miranda has served as a visiting faculty at Fordham, Dartmouth, Sarah Lawrence, Westland, Rutgers. Past fellowships include New Georgia's Space on Rider Farm, LCT Directors Lab, Wing Space, Manhattan Theater Club, Arena Stage. She's just an amazing artist. And when I met her, actually, we were on a Zoom, and we disagreed about something. And I was like, wow, this is a strong, courageous mind. She's tough. And then we ended up having coffee together. And in that moment of having coffee with her, I understood that this world really needs everybody in my generation and beyond, and everybody in her generation and beyond. And together we can solve the problems of the world. And I think she is in the spirit of Ruby Dee, of Arthur Davis, of Belafonte, of my good friend Woodie King here, in the spirit of Intozaki. She's gonna make a major difference in this country, and I love her. Miranda Heyman.
Thanks, Kenny. Miranda, if you could come to the screen, and we're going to pop off so you can say whatever you'd like to say and share your insights with the folks at National Theater Conference. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Kenny, and to the entire foundation. In typical spirits, I'm calling you from 528th Avenue, where I'm about to walk into rehearsal. So yeah, it's just, we're back, people. We're back and we're keeping safe and we're doing the thing. But truly, Kenny, those words and what you have to say about me means so much. I'm so humbled and honored. And I think the thing that I'm thinking about the most right now is that I was never supposed to be a theater maker, actually. I was probably supposed to be a basketball player or a tennis player or a track star. But in high school, I had this injury and I couldn't do sports anymore. And what I asked for instead of something to replace sports is that I said, I want ensemble. I want, ephemerality. Like, I want everybody coming together to do the thing. And then we keep doing the thing over and over. And then I was talking to an English teacher about it. And he said, sounds like you might want to do a play, Miranda. And I said, okay, let's go. Never done that before. And here I am. But I think that that is a testament to the fact that theater has always been and will always be the house that I walk into, the earth that I stand on. My parents are both carpenters, so I make a lot of carpentry metaphors, but the scaffolding, the drywall. And I'm just so shocked and happy about how much theater has given me, both as a creative, a generator, and also as a person. Every single one of my identities as Black person, non-binary person, queer person, Virgo, student, teacher, everything has arrived at theater's door, and theater has always said yes. So in this time of great change and great upheaval, I think it's time for us to keep saying yes to each other, like Kenny was saying, and be abundant and not live in scarcity, but also say yes to the unknown and open up new doors in our industry and knock on them and see what's up and ask them if they will welcome us in, and to, like I did on that Zoom with Kenny, to question them, to be a good guest, but question them and ask them, what else might you be? What else have you been? And what else could you be? Because if I hadn't asked myself that back in high school, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank Kenny. I want to thank all of NTC. I want to thank all the amazing people who have preceded me in receiving this award. Many of them are my colleagues and my friends. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, Miranda. I appreciate those thoughts and that wisdom from a relatively young person's point of view. I don't know if you remember this or not, but this also comes with a cash award. So Paula will be reaching out to make sure we have the right address, and you get a frameable certificate too. So thank you for being with us. Kenny, if you want to come on and congratulate Miranda, that'd be cool. Yes. Woody, if you want to come back, we have just a few minutes. If you could have any final thoughts for us. Miranda, thank you. You did mention the people who have been awarded both the Paul Green Award, Person of the Year. Yes, Woody. Yes, thank you. I do want to tell everybody that it's right there on our website, and it is an amazing list of artists that have changed the field, and we're tickled to have you join that list and put your name up there now. So any final thoughts from anyone here? I'm gonna take a back seat again. Oh no, I'm not gonna take a back seat. I'm gonna stay right here. Gosh, Woody, are you spent? You got to say everything you needed to say. We sure loved having you do this and appreciate you.
Yes, and all I'm saying is, all I can say is, Miranda, and I hope you can hear me. The American theater is a great place to be in at this time. It is a place where when I began, when a lot of us began, it was about integrating into the American theater men and women. Now they are Academy Award winners, Tony Award winners, NTC winners. They're all these winners. They are integrated into the American theater. So it is obviously your job to reach back and pull them with you, pull people with you. Queers, people of color, men, women, and do it without hesitation, without shame. If they can work with you, have them work with you, or introduce them to people who can work with you or work into the American theater, who you respect.
Thanks, Woody.
But you know,
I
it's
think,
not
go
gonna be
ahead.
a problem. It's not going to be a problem because Miranda is like, I mean, she's like my college, my historically Black college I attended, it says our motto is find a way or make one. And Miranda is one of those, she's going to make a way. She's going to create a way. She's going to say, I know y'all thought y'all was going down this road, but we going down this road over here. Okay.
Right.
I know you thought you liked purple, but I think you should have on yellow. Let's go. So we ain't got to worry about that, but we with you, we following you, we listening to you, and together we can make it work.
Yeah, let's do this, everybody. It's a team effort, and we're doing it. Let's go. Everybody come on board.
And Miranda, just know that National Theater Conference is made up of leaders in the academy and the profession, and we're a resource here for you. For instance, if you need Native American talent, I know where you can meet people. That is my 25, 28-year history of championing Native theater artists and developing, producing Native theater nationally. So we're here for you. Let us know how we can support you.
Yeah, and I also just want to say to that, my inbox is always open. I think that part of the subtitle of being a director is actually being a listener. I think so much more of directing is listening and tuning in and showing up, not just for yourself, but for everybody in the room. So I want to make a blanket open. Please reach out. I'm very easy to reach. My email address is literally mirandaheyman@gmail.com. And that's for a reason, because I want to make sure that I am accessible at all times. So please feel free. I would love to hear from anyone here.
Thanks, Miranda. Well, I think we've come to a natural pause, perhaps a conclusion. So I'd like to thank Miranda. I'd like to thank Woody. And I'd like to thank our person of the year, Kenny Leon. It really is wonderful to be with you, to spend time with you, to be inspired by you. I know I speak for the whole company, the National Theater Conference, when I say thank you. It's been inspirational. I'll leave it there. I'm going to stay on to direct my folks to the next thing we're doing in about, let's say, half past the hour. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Big applause, everyone. It's in the chat. There's lots and lots of love in the chat. Thank you so very much. Okay, thank you. So for the National Theater Conference, folks, we'll be moving on to a Zoom space. We're scheduled initially to go to that space at 40 minutes after the hour. It gives everybody a chance to have a little snack because we've been doing this pretty straight on since then. I'll probably log on a few minutes early, as will our Cesar and Paula, and perhaps Nick Carter from San Diego State. So please feel free to bring a snack, a cocktail with you to this next part, and we'll sort of pull apart what happened today. What a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, it's just been amazing. Paula, thanks for putting the link in the chat there. So folks, I'll give you just a minute to copy that chat out or to click on it and however you'd like. And then we'll start at about, I'd say about 1/2 we'll start gathering. In 40 minutes, we'll be together for sure. 40 minutes after the hour. So thanks everybody. I'm gonna just copy the chat, Gene, just so you know that that's happening. Save the chat because many beautiful things were shared there. Oh, what a day. I'm gonna mute my camera.